Good morning. Welcome to our spiritual home, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs. My name is Mark Hopkins. I've been a member here for just a little over 10 years, and I serve on the Board of Trustees currently. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a white male, a little bit over 70, gray hair, gray beard. We want to acknowledge here at the church that we're on the lands of the Tocobaga and Seminole people. We're a church of many welcomes, and we offer a warm welcome to all of you. This is a liberal religious community for all ages. We promote spiritual growth, social justice, and the arts. To learn more about any of our events, our church calendar is on our website, uutarpon.org, or we'd be happy to talk to you at any time during coffee hour. For those present with us in the building, we have connection cards available in the pews near the hymnals. If you fill one out, we can stay in touch with you. Also, at the end of the service, we include a ritual where we share our personal joys and sorrows. If you have something you'd like to share, but you prefer to share it in writing, there are also cards in front of the pews where you can share that in writing, and I will read it for you. Our guest minister today, we are pleased to have back with us Reverend Katie Culbert. Reverend Katie graduated with a Master of Divinity degree from Meadville Lombard Theological School. She interned and was ordained by the UU Church of Sarasota. She has worked as the Director of Religious Education, and she is a chaplain, most recently employed at Tampa General Hospital. Reverend Katie lives in Tampa, Florida with her two teenage boys, Desi and Casey. Our music today is provided by our music director, Whitehurst, and a very special guest, Barbara Nielsen. Barbara is a violinist with Suncoast Symphony Orchestra and the operations manager for the Florida Orchestra. She also teaches music privately. Again, welcome to all.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Good morning. Before reading our opening words, I would like to read a statement that was crafted by the Unitarian Universalist Association in regards to yesterday's political violence, which I know is on many of our minds. Unitarian Universalism believes in the right of free speech and the democratic process. Attacks like those at yesterday's political rally weaken democracy. And the Unitarian Universalist Association condemns this attack. At a time when democracy is already at risk, these events will only make our political environment more precarious. As we prepare to meet this moment, we must return to our spiritual grounding and our faithful practice. Take a breath. Reflect. Wait for the emerging truth over quick speculation. Anchor yourself in communities, in relationships that foster resilience, liberation, and strategy. Cultivate nuance and seek out wisdom. Seek out political analysis and spiritual grounding, as misinformation will be rampant. Our Unitarian Universalist tradition is rooted in the values of human dignity, justice, compassion, and democratic principles. We will remain vigilant in our commitment to protecting our democracy and the integrity of its principles and the rights of all its people. Let us keep love at the center. We are in this together. I'm very appreciative of those words from our denominational association. So our opening words are by poet Mary Oliver. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am, well, hopeless. Is my eyesight fading, or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get rheumatism or lockjaw or dementia? Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing, and I gave it up. And I took my old body and went out into the morning and sang.
Our chalice lighting is entitled Opening to the Light, written by Sarah Ruth Wikoye Davis. We light this chalice with an open heart. We light this chalice with resolve. We light this chalice with tears still fresh on our cheeks. We light this chalice in hope, a tiny flame we nurture. We light this chalice with reverence for this place, for these people, for this time. We light this chalice with all our souls longing to be who we can be, to be who shall we become, and to be ourselves. We light this chalice in self-love, in giving love, in holy love. And now we read the covenant. If you'll join me in reading our covenant, please. We strive to look for and encourage the best in each other as we move toward justice, peace, and love for both ourselves and the world. And when we fall short, we will seek understanding, reconciliation, and a return to covenant.
And now we will sing hymn number 123 in the gray hymnal, Spirit of Life, 123.
Our story for all ages this morning is called The Water of Life. 3 people were searching for the water of life, hoping to drink from it and live forever. The first was a warrior. He reckoned the water of life would be very mighty, a torrent or a rapid. So he went in full armor with all his weapons, believing he could force the water to yield to him. The second was an enchantress. She reckoned the water of life would be very magical, perhaps a whirlpool or a geyser, something she would need to manipulate with spells. So she went in her long star-spangled robe, hoping to outwit the water. The third was a traitor. He reckoned the water of life would be very costly, a fountain of pearl drops or diamonds perhaps. So he loaded his clothes and his purses with money, hoping he would be able to buy the water. When the travelers reached their destination, they found that they had all been quite wrong about the water of life. It wasn't a torrent to be intimidated by force. It wasn't a whirlpool to be charmed by spells. It wasn't a fountain of pearl drops and diamonds to be bought with money. It was just a tiny, sparkling spring. Its benefits were absolutely free. But of course, you had to kneel to drink it. This caused the seekers great consternation. The warrior was in full armor. He couldn't bend over, and the enchantress had on her long magic robe, and if that became soiled, it would lose its power. The trader was so loaded with money that if he did incline his head, all the coins would start rolling out of his pockets and into everywhere. All dressed up, the 3 could not lower themselves to drink from the spring of the water of life. There was only one solution. So the warrior laid aside his armor, and the enchantress laid beside her magic robe, and the trader laid aside the clothes he had stuffed with money, and then each of them, naked, could kneel to drink from the water of life and receive its sweet, cool, startling benefits. Stories by Kate Compston. And now we will sing. There.
We usually sing Go Now in Peace, but instead we are trading it out for hymn number 6 in the Gray Book, Just as Long as I Have Breath. Just for the week. We'll trade it out.
Oh, okay.
Whoops, sorry. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dreams and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
Our Unitarian Universalist community and its work runs on the generosity of our congregation. We will now take an offering that allows us to continue this important work. You may mail your offering or go to our website or place your offering in the Sunday collection bowl as it's passed. Your gifts will be now most gratefully received.
gift. I would like to now invite y'all into a space of prayer, meditation. Center yourself. Feel how your body connects with the pew as you're sitting, your feet grounded. After the prayer, we'll have a moment to sit together in silence. We gather today with hearts that are overwhelmed, overstimulated, and oversaturated by the news and current events. We hold in our hearts those who were impacted by yet another episode of gun violence during a large gathering in our country. We lift up our prayers for those injured, including the former president and those who lost their lives yesterday. We are alarmed and shocked by the political violence we witnessed on our screens last night. We are deeply concerned about the delicate condition of our democracy, and we pray for peace in our nation. Source of all creation and creativity, help us imagine a new way. Help us access our best version of ourselves, because that is who we will need to be in this crucial moment in our country's history. Guide us toward wisdom. Inspire us to articulate our personal values and embody those values. Ground us in the embrace of compassion and community. Stir our hearts to engage in nuanced and thoughtful conversations. Remind us, when we forget, that many things can be true at the same time. Let us rest in the both and. Let us discern fact from fiction. Let us acknowledge that emotions don't travel alone, and we can have many feelings at once. Divine One, let us never forget that regardless of political affiliation, each of us has inherent worth and dignity. Each of us is enough, and each of us are holy, and each of us is loved. Amen, and blessed be. And now let us take a moment to sit together in the silence. Our reading this morning is by Reverend Mark Morrison Reed. We are all dying, and we need to understand that death is not the worst of all events. We need to fear not death, but life, empty lives, loveless lives that do not build upon the gifts that each of us has been given, lives that are like living deaths, lives which we never take the time to savor and appreciate, lives in which we never pause to breathe deeply. What we need to fear is not death, but squandering the lives we have been miraculously given. So let me die laughing, savoring one of life's crazy moments. Let me die holding the hand of one that I love and recalling that I tried to love and was loved in return. Let me die remembering that life has been good and that I did what I could. But today, just remind me that I am dying so that I can live and savor and love with all of my heart. So there's this guy named John, and he went to the doctor, and he gets home, and his husband notices that he looks extremely distraught. He tells his beloved spouse that the doctor said he was going to die before the night was over. They hug and they cry, and Martin, his husband, suggests they go to bed early and make love one more time. They make love, and Martin falls asleep. But John is frightened to sleep because it is his last night on earth. But he lays there in the dark while Martin snores. Eventually, John whispers in his husband's ear, "Martin, please just one more time." But Martin turns over and keeps snoring. John looks at his watch and leans over again and shakes him really hard and says, "Please, just once more for old time's sake." Martin simply looks at him and says, "John, how can you be so selfish? One of us has to get up in the morning." All of us are gonna die someday. It's true. And most of us have loved ones who die from disease or old age before we do. In fact, many of us today are actually watching as one of our loved ones is dying. And some of us are dying. Of course, we're all dying from the moment that we're born, and even when physicians tell us we have 3 to 6 months to live, we're not bread, we're not milk. There isn't an expiration date stamped on us, so we don't really know, like John knew, the exact moment that we're going to die. But if you were told you have an incurable and inoperable terminal condition, and your doctor says it's time to get your affairs in order, pretty good chance that you are dying. There was a time when death and dying were woven very intimately into our lives. Dying was actually a community experience. It wasn't a medical event. People died at home, not isolated in hospitals. Families typically lived in the same town, and sometimes several generations lived in the same house, which meant that even children were exposed to the dying process. It wasn't a secret, and it wasn't something to fear or to hide. It was just a part of life. Death and dying have become a little bit more of a mystery. We don't really know what to expect sometimes. Oftentimes, movies certainly do not portray death accurately at all. And this not knowing can create fear, and that fear causes us to avoid having conversations about death and dying, which ultimately leads to all sorts of problems, including like spiritual and emotional, intellectual, physical suffering for the person who is dying and also the people who are trying to take care of that person. Before becoming a chaplain, I too was very afraid of death. I didn't even want to think about it. I didn't want to acknowledge that one day my parents were going to die. Honestly, I didn't even really like watching movies that had violence and death in them. I never would have imagined that I would be journeying with people as they approached the end of their life and witnessing as they took their last breath. Watching my mother die in a hospital was the worst thing I've ever experienced. She died of kidney failure and congestive heart failure during the pandemic, which meant that the best hospitals in Florida were full, and there was either no patient visitation or there was very, very limited patient visitation. And I thought I could get her moved out of this awful podunk hospital in Port Charlotte, but I won't get onto that. But I couldn't get her moved to Tampa General, which is where I worked for so many years, because there were no beds at TGH. So she was stuck in this. It was just too small for what she needed. They didn't even have an attending physician after 4 p.m. It was not where she needed to be, because she was also in excruciating pain the last week of her life. She would call from her hospital room on the phone, because we weren't allowed to be in there with her, and she would beg to come home, yelling curse words I had never heard come out of my mother's mouth ever. Her pain and suffering was unbearable. And we honestly had no idea that death was imminent. The physicians continued to work to cure her, really focusing on curing her disease and educating us on home dialysis after her discharge. We had a lot of hope. My mother did not have a good experience of dying. The actual event, the death, was not as bad as it could have been. My older brother, refused to leave her room the night before she died, even though the hospital staff told him that he couldn't stay. But my brother lives in Louisiana, and he had not been able to spend that much time with my mom because he was working, and I was here just taking care of her and my dad during the illness. So I'd spent a lot of time with them. So I gave him more of the visitation so he could spend time with mom. And my brother is a U.S. Marine who fought in Kosovo. He's also a country boy, and he is very much a mama's boy. And he wasn't going anywhere. He knew that she was getting close to the end of her life. The next morning, about 4 o'clock, he called me and he said it was time. My little brother and my dad joined him in the ICU where my mom lay, morphine flowing through her. She was, she was out of it. Finally, not screaming in pain, finally comfortable. At one point, I crawled into her bed and I laid beside her, crying. I held her hand and I rubbed it against my cheek and over my messy hair that she always wished that I would brush. But the ICU was sterile and cold and unfamiliar, and I didn't know any of the physicians or anyone just standing around. She had numerous lines all attached to her. We circled her with love, and we were in shock and disbelief. And we were there until she took her last breath. And we were lucky that we were able to be with her in that sacred moment. Because during the pandemic, hundreds of thousands of people died without any family or friends present. Courageous nurses and chaplains and other medical staff in full PPE held iPads. Y'all know about this, held iPads up to people's faces so they could say goodbye to their family members over video chat. It was absolutely awful. It was horrible. Thankfully, we're no longer having to deal with that piece of the pandemic, and I pray that we have learned something from that experience and we don't have to go through that again. But what does remain, which I was kind of hoping would have changed after the pandemic, but it hasn't really, is our culture's aversion to talking about death and dying. So many people are in denial, maybe thinking that if we avoid talking about death, then we can avoid death. But that's not really how it works. Last time I checked, we're all mortal here. We're all mortal, and there's some holes in that theory. We're all gonna die. And if by chance a conversation about death and dying does take place, it's often grounded in fear and worry and dread and confusion and that anticipatory grief. When I tell people I'm a hospice chaplain, which is what I do now, I don't know how many of y'all know, but I transferred from doing chaplaincy at TGH to hospice. When I tell people that, I usually get one of two responses. The first normally is like, how do you do that? How do you even do that? And then another response I get is, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Families are so blessed to have you. They're so lucky. But here's the thing. I'm the lucky one. I'm the blessed one. I don't have enough time to tell y'all how blessed I am to do this work and how fortunate I feel to be with folks, how honored I am that people trust me to walk with them in these most sacred moments. And second of all, yes, it is extremely heartbreaking. But the joy actually outweighs the ouchiness. It truly does, especially as a hospice chaplain. Dying can actually be a positive experience, and seeking care through hospice is one way to make that happen. Contrary to what many people think, hospice just isn't for people who have a few days to live. It's not about giving up. So many people equate hospice with you're dying, you're giving up, this is it, it's over. In fact, though, according to the American Academy of Family Physicians, hospice care may actually increase your life expectancy. Those with pancreatic cancer gained an average of 3 weeks. Those with lung cancer gained 6 weeks. And those with congestive heart failure gained 3 months. This additional time can be a gift. It can be a gift that we use to spend with our family and with our friends, to more deeply embrace our spirituality and to heal misunderstandings and hurts and do any forgiveness work or reconciliation that may bring about a greater peace inside of us. While hospice care does not treat the illness, it manages pain and other symptoms. So it's focusing on comfort and dignity and quality of life of the person that is dying. Hospice care is as much about how you want to live as it is about how you want to die. It is an approach that involves people from multiple disciplines, including physicians, nurses, aides, social workers, chaplains, volunteers, bereavement specialists. They provide a comprehensive care for patients nearing the end of life. And patients to be on hospice, just a little business here, they do need to be in a terminal phase of illness to qualify for hospice, with a life expectancy of 6 months or less. Though, I have patients that have been on hospice for over 2 years. It's you get recertified. And we pray and we hope that patients are going to get stronger and live longer. In my time with hospice, it has been magical and beautiful to see folks who are continuing to get stronger. Hospice care is excellent for patients that are in progressive stages of non-curable disease, in the very weak or the extremely elder. One of the advantages of hospice is we come to the patient's homes. So the physicians and the aides and the nurses and the chaplains are coming to folks' homes, because it's very difficult for people to make doctor's appointments and all this. And another advantage is we're all on the same team. We're all talking to one another. We meet weekly to talk about the patient and evaluate the patient's goals. The patient's goals, not our goals, not the physician's goals necessarily, but the patient's goals. And we discuss what interventions are needed. Caregivers can also benefit greatly because of hospice, because we provide more comfort and support and guidance and grief counseling than traditional medical settings. Many hospice organizations, including the one that I work for called Chapters Health, offer 24-hour on-call support and care to patients and their families every day of the week. So you can call 24 hours. You need a chaplain. You can call. You need to talk. You have a question about something. Someone is always going to be there, and we're all in communication. Hospice care is much about how you want to live as it is about how you want to die. And dying is an experience that many of us fear. Some patients fight death until the end. They don't want to accept it. Absolutely not. Others accept the finality that this is the process of life. When to stay fixed on physically healing and when to shift to acceptance of death remain daunting questions for each individual person to consider. As I mentioned, often instead of thinking about death, folks avoid the topic. Many think, there's plenty of time. There's plenty of time. I'll think about this tomorrow. Although we may realize logically that death will come, a lot of us act like certainly this must be about other people. This isn't about me. This isn't about me. It's about everyone else. So I've learned to be delicate in my approach when talking with patients who are not quite able to accept that they are dying. For some, just the word hospice causes fear. I don't know if y'all have had that experience or if anyone in here is associates that with, but it definitely causes fear. But here's the thing. Fear causes suffering. And so one of my goals as a chaplain is to help alleviate suffering by exploring the fear. We dig into it, and I'm present with folks as they're on this journey towards healing. So it's not necessarily healing of the illness, the physical illness, but healing of the spirit, healing of the heart, healing of the soul and the mind and the emotions. There have been studies done with cancer patients to gauge their emotional response to dying, and oftentimes there is much less fear in those who acknowledge that they are dying. Because the more we push something away and don't want to think about it, the more anxiety-provoking it actually is. And so to alleviate anxiety, we embrace the reality of the moment. Or what I like to say, we must embrace the suck. It sucks, and we just have to embrace it. Take, for example, my friend Richard. He just turned 50. And he was diagnosed with cancer a few years ago. And the cancer went away after treatment. But unfortunately, it didn't stay away. And in April, he found out that it has come back with a vengeance. And it's scattered now. So, moving different organs. He's dying. And in his own words, I'm being positive, but looks like I'm pretty screwed on time. You might think he's in the depths of despair, but he isn't. Actually, since April, he has been living his best life. He's been going to music festivals and concerts, visiting friends and family, and he continues with his meditation practice and his spirituality and eating healthy and exercising, and he always has a smile on his face, and he's just a light. I've never met anyone like him. He's so focused on enjoying the present moment. He told me that knowing he is going to die feels exciting, like how you feel when you're going on vacation, except you're just not coming back. Like all of us, he doesn't know with certainty what's going to happen after death, but the unknown is beautiful to him. He is interested and curious, and the universe is magical to him, and he is grateful for his time here on this earth. He is at peace with dying. This is what I want for all of my patients and their families. This is the ultimate goal of hospice, to facilitate a sense of peace and comfort, to help people not suffer. Each member of our hospice team contributes to the plan of care in their own way. As a chaplain, I specialize in listening. I do a lot of listening and asking thoughtful questions to move folks towards this place of peace. We dig into sources of distress together. We address hopelessness, guilt, loss of identity, loss of our faith communities when we get to a point where we can't come to church anymore, family conflicts, any unfinished business folks have, the feeling of powerlessness in losing your autonomy, anger, fear, denial, all of these things. That's what I get to do with folks as their chaplain, is help them wrestle with this stuff. We provide support in various ways: listening, prayer for those who want prayer, meditation, rituals, but also art and music, encouraging folks to get into nature or taking them. I do work in the hospice house, and I had a woman there not too long ago, and she just wanted to go outside. She just wanted to feel the sun on her face instead of being inside. So just to be outside and feel the sun on her face was my ministry that day. It was awesome because it was really cold in the hospice house. They keep it really cold in there. So it was nice to be outside. Also, I want to lift up that chaplains are for people of all religious faiths and no religious faith. Chaplains are there for everybody. I wish more people knew this. I wish more chaplains knew this, but oftentimes folks do think that chaplains are just for Christians. Your chaplain might be Christian. It's true. Your chaplain might be Christian, but it's not about their beliefs. A good chaplain knows that it is not about their beliefs. It is about your beliefs. And I tend to think that the best chaplains are Unitarian Universalists. I'm a little biased about that, but seriously, we have this emphasis on honoring the worth and dignity of every person while embracing a diversity of beliefs. So it seems to me that we make really good chaplains. But honestly, I've worked with so many chaplains of numerous denominations, Buddhists and Christians and atheists, and the whole gamut, and they do just as good a job as Unitarian Universalist chaplains. I mean, I guess you say that. As a hospice chaplain, I get the honor of holding hands and journeying with those who are experiencing this sacred transition. And that's what I think of it as. This sacred transition away from this earthly realm. And I get to not only be with the patients, but also the people that love them and the people who are caring for them. God bless the caregivers. My goodness. I don't know if you've been a caregiver or if you know caregivers, but caring for a loved one who is dying, who is sick and dying, is exhausting, it is isolating, and it is extremely stressful, especially if you don't have a good support system. It takes a lot out of the folks that are caring for those who are dying. So hospice provides not only emotional and spiritual support for the caregivers, but also a break when needed. So we offer respite care. So the patient can go in and be in the hospice house for 5 days, and then that person can take care of themselves for a few days, feel like a normal life again just for a few days. I wish I had known more about hospice before my mom got sick. She honestly should have been on hospice. She really should have been on hospice. She should have been home with us, and her pain should have been managed. Her physical and her spiritual and emotional pain and suffering needed to be alleviated. And the hospital did not do this. Also, the pain and suffering of my father, my brothers, and myself would have been eased during her illness and her dying and her death, and after, through the bereavement services that hospice provides. I wish I'd asked, but I didn't know. I honestly had no idea. I really did just think hospice was at the end of life, and I didn't ask questions, which, by the way, I want to encourage you to advocate and ask questions. Ask questions and take someone with you if you're in a physician's meeting, and because there's a lot of information coming at you. But ask about hospice. See what your physician says, because sometimes they won't tell you about it. I pray that we stop pretending that death is not a part of life, because it is. I pray that we honor the experience of death and dying as sacred, as meaningful. I pray that we do not wait until we are dying to think about what we want the last days of our life to look like, or what we want our life to look like. Let's not wait. Let's do it. Let's do it now. Talk to your loved ones now. And I pray that we live as though these are our last days on earth, that we love as hard as we can, that we ask for and offer forgiveness, and we celebrate the simple blessing of waking up and being alive every day. May it be so.
At this time, we'll have our closing hymn, number 354 in the Gray Book, We Laugh, We Cry. 354.
We laugh, we cry, we live, we die.
will share with friends. We will linger on and on, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a place to be together. We have the right to grow. We have the gift to believe that peace will in our living is an answer. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the lies of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a joy to be together. And in our search for peace, may we well finally see, even to question truly is an answer.
Our closing words are from Dame Cicely Saunders. She is the founder of the hospice care movement. You matter because you are you. You matter because you are you. And you matter to the end of your life. We will do all that we can, not only to help you die peacefully, but also to live until you die. May it be so.
Reverend Katie, you had it right. Earlier, as we were assembling up here on the stage, you said something to the musicians like, I'm glad you're here today because music can fill a space in the heart that words can't often fill. Your words also fill the space in the heart, so thank you both. As we bring our service to a close, let me share these words to extinguish our chalice. They're by Ben Atherton Zeman, entitled An Unquenchable Flame. As we extinguish the flame of our chalice, we ignite it inside ourselves. Our commitment to our mission and to one another is an unquenchable flame. Let us remember that we are not alone until we light this flame the next time.